Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/malicious compliance. Don't like it, leave. This happened today. My husband and I have been car shopping as I was in an auto accident at the beginning of summer. Our car was totaled in the accident and it has been a long process. We finally decided on the automobile we wanted, got all our paperwork completed, and had our financing all worked out. All we needed to do was sign all the paperwork and drive away. The dealership is 90 minutes from our house, so we took the kids out of school early and my husband took off work after lunch. We wanted to make sure we were home in time to keep our typical school night schedule going. We get to the dealership at our agreed upon time, we did one more test drive and were ready to sign everything. Then the game started. All of a sudden the finance office wasn't ready for us. Then after an almost 2-hour wait, they were ready. The finance person started by trying to upsell us on all the add-ons dealers try to sell you. We told her we didn't want anything extra, we just wanted to look at the numbers, read the paperwork, sign it all, and head out. Due to our wait, we had a limited amount of time to get this done and still be able to get home in time for the kids' bedtime routine. The first thing she does is pull out a different set of numbers than we were originally given and agreed to. All of a sudden there is a dealership fee for selling us a car at this time of year. Nearly $1,000 for this nonsense. Then she states that if we don't like the fee, we could leave as they have people begging to buy cars from them. So, my husband and I stood to leave. She then tells us we can't leave as she has already printed the forms. I laughed at her and told her to go out and get one of those beggars to buy it. So far the finance person has called twice and the salesperson has called 4 times. I guess they weren't expecting someone to get that far and then walk away. Next story. If you find that job, take it. Goodbye. Okay, I will, and take the department with me. To keep it vague, my old company was a fairly large REIT, roughly $10 billion. I was a part of a very niche M&A shop that was typically the black sheep of the company. It felt like anything we did was just a hassle overall, and it wasn't really worth the company's time to entertain these acquisitions anymore. I was a part of the minuscule-sized deal team, 3 of us including myself, that closed over 60 deals per year, with 45 to 50 active deals at one time. Typically, each deal took about 4 to 9 months from start to finish, depending on the seller's competence level and organization. This was my first job out of college. I knew the career path I wanted to take was going to require long hours and no vacations, but typically in finance the salary will reflect that commitment. Well, for this job I was making $52,000/year working 80-hour weeks, $12.50 an hour gross pay. After my first full year, I went to the VP of the department and requested a 20% raise. I was told the basic inflation spiel and got a 2% cost of living adjustment. I think it's important to note here that after I left this company, I found out the same VP received a $2 million bonus. Fast forward a couple of months. Every year, the company has a meeting where the entire company, 300-ish people, meets at a hotel. They do this to give updates as to what the company has done so far, where they are going, and for team building, of course. In reality, this was a multi-million-dollar event to pat the backs of the executives that really don't do much in reality. As a part of this event, anyone in the company is allowed to send in anonymized questions to the CEO, and he will read/respond to it if he thinks it's something worth talking about. Just before this company event, 5 people had resigned from other departments in the company. Every one of them almost doubled their salaries at their new jobs. So I decided to ask the question, how do you plan to retain talent when there are other companies offering 2x the money with half of the workload? The CEO decided this question was hilarious and read it aloud laughing and responded, if you find that job, with finger quotes as if it wasn't real, you better take it, goodbye. After being treated pretty terribly the last 1.5 years, including missing my grandfather's 88th birthday party due to a last-second PowerPoint that ended up not even being used, I decided that was the final nail in the coffin. I spoke with one of the recently resigned co-workers about his new company, and soon after a recruiter from his company reached out to me. I go through the interview process and get the job. I more than doubled my pay when taking the 20% end-of-year bonus into account, and I even got a $10,000 signing bonus. The story doesn't end here. As I gave notice to my wonderful manager who taught me everything I know, she first told me she hates me because she is going to have to take over my 19 current deals. But then, shockingly, she confides that after 7 years of working at the company, she is ready to move to greener pastures as well. I decided to call the recruiter that reached out to me originally and ask if there are any other positions open at my new company. She says yes, they interview her and she gets the job as well a month later. 2 down, 1 to go. The final co-worker standing was not hard to convince as he saw 52 deals suddenly pile onto his desk while he was already underwater doing the same 80-hour weeks as I did. I worked with him to spruce up his resume and get the wheels turning. After 2 interviews, he was given a verbal job offer with an in-writing letter expected the next week. All said and done, all 3 of us ended up doubling our old salaries. The old company is now scrambling to replace us, with over $100 million worth of deals that will grind to a halt when my last coworker makes his departure. My new gig does not feel like real life. I have a fantastic boss that respects my time outside of the office, to the point that he gave me 2 weeks in between jobs to unwind after my previous role. My workload is 30% of what I used to do, as well. My old manager got the same 2-week treatment and is currently enjoying her time off and will start in the middle of October. If I was only given that 20% raise. Next story. HR says only smart people can work here. I work for a small company and we have a one-man HR department. We often get all sorts of memo detailing policies that sound good on paper, but never make practical sense. I think maybe HR got all its education on YouTube or Reddit, or learned it while being mentored after hours by the CEO. Recently, HR implemented a new standardized testing for screening new candidates, which scores candidates on their skills in mathematics, language, logic, and a bunch of industry-specific questions. The idea is to weed out those who present well on paper and in person, but in fact can't do the most basic stuff. While this could be an excellent idea to weed out the morons that keep walking through the door, HR thought it's an excellent idea to make everyone, including those who's already been here for years, do it as well, for the employee files of course. HR gave a metrics for where scores should range for new candidates, sent us links to complete the tests, and requested that they are completed by Friday. As we all know, HR never do things just for employee files. We suspect HR is trying to get rid of a few crucial people who are not great with computers, not fast on the calculator, but are in fact the beating souls to the workplace. Everyone at the office pretty much all boycotted the test. When HR pressured the CEO to threaten our bonuses, we begrudgingly complied. HR wants to score us based on arbitrary standardized tests as benchmark? Sure. We spent the next 3 days after hours working on the tests together, 1 test at a time. At the end, we all scored 9 out of 10 in every category, because we got some pretty bright people helping out. And guess what? We forced HR to do the same test, and HR scored 5 out of 10 for math, 4 out of 10 for logic. Guess who should be on the chopping block? Next story. My HOA will learn that I absolutely live by the letter of the law. My HOA recently changed the rules limiting the amount of vehicles allowed in my driveway. I collect cars, all of which run, drive, and are registered and insured, and my household also has 4 licensed drivers. When I moved in, the rules stated only 1 Class C vehicle allowed per driveway. Well, that was fine by me, since Class C vehicles don't exist. Class C vehicles were not defined in the HOA rules either. I assume whoever wrote that rule assumed since they had a Class C license, standard cars and trucks must be Class C. So I moved in, and after stuffing 2 cars, 4 motorcycles and my camper in my garage, I placed 5 vehicles in my driveway. The letters came. I was quickly able to deflate them after asking them for the legal definition of a Class C vehicle. No fines paid. Fast forward about a year, and the HOA proposed a rule change. Now stating 3 vehicles per driveway maximum, since 3 is more than 1, and people lack critical thinking skills, it was passed with over 85% support. Fine. 3 vehicles it is. I did some digging and found the streets in my HOA were turned over to the city, an effort to avoid having to foot the maintenance bill, I'm sure, and as such, the HOA had no authority to stop people from parking on a public street. So I moved 2 vehicles to my very narrow street. 1 in front of my house, and 1 directly across the street in front of my neighbor's house. Now, the only vehicles that could safely drive past my home were motorcycles and the one guy with a smart car. It was glorious. My street is a main artery into and out of the neighborhood. Lots of U-turns and backtracking for folks to get home or to work. They are the ones who did the rest of the work for me. Complaints and calls to the HOA president resulted in another rule change vote. Now my driveway is open to any amount of legally registered vehicles. It fits 9. I need more cars. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.